From the seminal 1999 masterpiece that is The Blair Witch Project to the Spanish modern classic that is Wreck, found footage has cemented itself as one of the cornerstones of modern filmmaking. If you ask anyone that knows me personally, they will tell you how much I adore the medium. There is something wonderful about the limitations of found footage that gets me so excited. Partly it could be down to the sense of urgency and immersion that you feel when watching one of these films, but I think it's mainly the accessibility of the genre that really takes the biscuit for me. I feel like anyone who's talented enough, with a good enough idea, can make an awesome found footage movie, regardless of the budget they have. Just look at 2020's Host for proof of this. Oh my god, what a film. The main issue with this, however, is there are a lot of found footage movies out there, like a metric ton of found footage films. Because of this, plenty of brilliant movies slip through the cracks of potential mainstream into the abyss that is obscurity. Oh my god, I'm like a poet. And that is why I'm here to bring you a list of 10 unknown found footage movies that you need to see. Number 10 is the Senritsu Kaiki File Kawasugi series. Fans of the found footage genre will probably be familiar with the work of director Koji Shiraishi. Shirayashi's 82-piece filmography includes the chilling Noroi, The Curse, as well as the equally entertaining and bonkers Occult and Cult. Yes, they are two separate films. One small franchise of films that fell through the gaps was the 6-film-long Senritsu Kaiki File Kawasugi series that follows a small team of paranormal investigators as they look into separate cases that lead them to experience haunting and terrifying things. This series has some of the best moments and design choices I have seen in recent memory, and what's even more nuts is that the first mention I can find of this series was in 2021, which is 10 years after the first film was made. It can be very difficult to find a version of this series translated into English, but if you can watch it, I highly recommend these movies, as they might actually be Shirayashi's best. Number 9. Savage Land. Whoa, before you light your pitchforks and raise your torches, wait. That's the wrong way around. I am aware that this film might be construed as more of a mockumentary, but this film is literally about found footage, so I'm putting it on this list and there is nothing you can do to stop me. So, if you still disagree, let me know in the comments what should take its place. Honestly, the less I say about Savage Land, the better. It's available free on Tubi in the US, and it's also pretty accessible on streaming services in Europe, so I do recommend watching this one if you can. The film is very similar in medium to the absolutely brilliant Lake Mungo, where if someone is unaware, they could be totally tricked into thinking that this is a real crime documentary. The authenticity of the production makes the horror moments that much more chilling, and oh boy, can this film be chilling. Centered around a small town on the US-Mexico border that has seemingly been wiped out in a massacre, Savage Land investigates the sole survivor Francisco Salazar and details his whereabouts on the night of the event. The centerpiece of this whole movie pivots around Salazar's camera and the photographs that he took on the night of the event. The film can be quite slow to start and some of the acting can be a bit hit and miss, but when this film hits its stride, it's truly haunting. The photographs that are shown in this film are just perfect horror and make this film 100% a watch. Number 8. Ghostwatch. Ghostwatch might be more well known than the rest of the films on this list, mainly due to the waves that it made in the UK when it aired on the BBC in Halloween of 1992. The film is presented as if it were live television, taking fake phone calls from the audience and starring one of the country's most famous presenters in Michael Parkinson as the host of the fictional show. This film is authentic to the core. Everything points towards this being a typical ghost hunting show, so when the paranormal occurrences slowly ramp up, it all feels genuine. Needless to say, being broadcast on the biggest TV channel in the UK, this film terrified a whole nation, and led to the BBC getting tens of thousands of calls complaining, or just straight up asking if it was real. This has never been aired again over here, and to this day, the BBC pretend that it never happened. But I really do recommend watching this piece of UK history. The film is masterfully made, and Mr. Pipes is just bloody terrifying. Number 7. Frankenstein's Army. Frankenstein's Army did gain some popularity in recent time when a monster in the hit video game Resident Evil Village did share a stark resemblance to a monster in this 2013 flick. On top of that, the trailer to this film does actually have millions of views on YouTube, but due to the lack of people talking about this film online, I actually think that not many people have seen this one. I mean, I'm not going to pretend that Frankenstein's Army is a masterpiece. There's a lot of issues with this movie, but the practical creature designs and creativity in this movie are near unparalleled. Granted, the implementation of found footage in a World War II movie can be a bit jarring, but as the film ramps up and it just gets crazier and crazier, you'll honestly just completely forget about it. This film is quite gory, so much so that I'm worried that the footage that you'll be seeing right now is just Gaussian blur and people talking. But if you're down for watching a fun B-movie romp, a film that is more thrilling than scary or thought-provoking, I do recommend Frankenstein's Army. The vibes are that of a potentially awesome video game, which actually makes a lot of sense with the Resident Evil plagiarism case. Number 6. Jerusalem. If you look past the truly awful name, I mean Jerusalem, it's Jerusalem, I get it, that's where it's set, and Z, I guess, is it's like zombie, like World War Z, but this film doesn't have zombies, and I don't understand it. If you can look past that awful name, then Jerusalem is a very entertaining watch. Set in the old town of the city of Jerusalem, the film follows the lives of two women as they go on a holiday of a lifetime, just when the rapture hits. Aside from the awful name, I mean, it's bloody awful, okay? This movie feels like a spiritual successor to something like Cloverfield. Like Matt Reeves' landmark movie, it captures the chaos of the apocalypse in a way that flourishes in the found footage genre. Plus, the setting of Jerusalem is straight up awesome and refreshing. It looks so nice. On top of that, this is like one of the only found footage films that I've seen that uses Google Glass as its camera, and I honestly love that. Number 5. Bad Ben. The brainchild of filmmaker Nigel Bark, Bad Ben was just a delight. The effects can be pretty awful, the acting is not great, the video quality isn't good, but I watched this film with a massive grin on my face from beginning to end. Bad Ben oozes passion, and Nigel Bark shows his talent with comedic timing and some genuinely fun set pieces. If you're wanting to watch a dark and terrifying film that will shake you to your core, I will not recommend you watch this. If you want to have a good time, however, I will recommend this film 100%. I also feel like I should mention that Nigel has made a lot of films in this franchise. I've only managed to see the first one, but if they're anything like this film, then they are next up on my found footage list. They also made a Bad Ben video game that I haven't played, but I've seen Game Grumps cover it, and it looks hilarious. Yes. Number 4. Afflicted. This 2013 flick shares some DNA with Chronicle from the year before. Both of the films explore a protagonist coming to terms with their newfound super abilities. However, this film goes down a more supernatural and spooky route, actually borrowing cues from some classic tales that everyone would be familiar with. Although this film's budget is 2% that of its Michael B. Jordan starring Hollywood counterpart, this film easily matches Chronicle in production quality, and in some scenes it showcases some really impressive filmmakers from the film's directors and starring actors Derek Lee and Cliff Prowse. On top of that, the chemistry between the two leads is palpable, and their social media personas in the movie really capture that early 2010s YouTube energy, with the over-the-top reactions and flashy transitions to boot. I mean, just look at this, it looks great. Number 3. Deadstream. From a film that perfectly captures 2010s YouTube to a newer film that perfectly captures modern-day live streaming culture, Deadstream follows a live streaming megastar who loses his sponsors and a chunk of his fans after a tasteless prank. Under increasing pressure to regain his lost sponsor money, he accepts a challenge from a potential sponsor to spend a night in a mysterious house. This film is hilarious. It's very well made and easily one of the best representations of a social media influencer I have ever seen in a movie. On top of all this, the film is honestly pretty clever, between moments that highlight the cliche of the genre, the live chat integration that is constantly going off throughout the film, and the great performances from everyone involved. This film is definitely going to become a modern classic, and you should watch it as soon as you can. Number 2. Willow Creek and Exists. Wait, what? That's 2 different films. Is that allowed? Yes, this is allowed. There is no reason why this list should be only 10 long. This isn't even a top 10, it's just a 10, and now it's an 11. These two movies came out within a year of each other, and they both follow the similar premise, which is effectively Blair Witch with Bigfoot, which is very apt for Exists, as it's directed by the Blair Witch Project's co-director Eduardo Sanchez. Both films have their own strengths and weaknesses. Personally, I prefer the cast and pacing of Willow Creek, but the effects and some of the plot points in Exists definitely make it a good, fun watch. These two films are the sort that you'd want to grab a group of friends, some snacks, and just unwind watching. And as an aside, we just need more Bigfoot movies. Like, Bigfoot is awesome, and I just want to see more of him. I did watch The Man Who Killed Bigfoot and then Hitler, but yeah, that film is not for me. Number 1. Punishment Park. The final film of this list is also the oldest. Punishment Park is not quite like the others on this list. Set in an alternate history 1970s America, the film introduces the idea of the Punishment Park, which is a government-led program enforced in the wake of overcrowding prisons. Political dissidents and activists are dropped into the Californian desert and set loose by the police force, who then subsequently travel in packs to hunt everyone down. To say that this film was controversial upon release is an understatement. The film industry in America tried to suppress this film, which unfortunately brought this film into relative obscurity. It's really a shame because this film is as poignant now as it has been ever. For anyone who's even vaguely intrigued by what I've said about this movie, you'd be doing yourself a disservice if you don't watch this film right away. Now there you have it! That was my list of 11 of the more obscure found footage movies that I recommend. I really hope that at least one of these films on this list was news to you. I know I haven't even scratched the surface of the genre, and I have much more to watch, so if you have any films you recommend, let me know in the comments. And if you've watched this video to the very end, consider dropping a sub. I have more lists coming in the future, and you don't want to miss them. But other than that, it's been me, Sam. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next list. Hopefully I do.